Hi everyone, I'm Nick Kirkenmeister from Heartland Wines on the Parade, and we're having one of these great discussions that we've done before, letting you know what's happening with local businesses right here in the Nord, Payneham and St Peters area. There is so much going on behind the scenes and in your neighbourhood, and this is a great way to explore it. Today, we are at Reform Distilling, and that's 91 on Little Rundle Street. So, yet again, just around the corner. It's a great space with some fantastic gins and other toys to play with, so pop on in when you get a chance. So, I'm lucky enough today to be joined by Sophia from Muscle Sense. Hi, Sophia.
How you going?
Well, thank you. On my left, I have Jackie from Bailey Real Estate. Hi, Jackie.
Hi, how you going?
Yeah, getting there. But, you know, if you keep asking me how I am, we'll be here all day. But Adrian is here from Bambrick Legal. And how are you, Adrian?
I'm very well, thank you.
Well, now that we've covered off on that and we're all well and healthy, which is probably actually really important at this time of year, I'm going to ask someone who's an expert on well and healthy a little bit about what you do at Muscle Sense, Sophia. Now, we were talking before and you were explaining to me in some detail, I think, what is structural integration, because although we all know a registered nurse, we all know a massage therapist, skills that you have, we may not fully understand exactly what you do.
Yeah, so structural integration, I'm one of two practitioners here in Adelaide, and it's a form of bodywork, and we look at the structures, posture, movement, and we treat the fascial system, which is pretty much the filmy bit you get on the chicken. That's the fascia, and it's all within us, so we're covered in it. And I look at balancing the body through this particular structural integration. So, yeah.
So for those people who might be more familiar with, say, a chiropractor or a physiotherapist, coming to work with you, how does it differ? What can people expect?
So with me, so the chiro might work on your bones and your central nervous system to calm your body, and physios might work on your muscles. But what wraps all of those structures and connects them all together is the fascia, and that's what I work on. So it involves getting on and off the table, and I look at where you're maybe not moving or moving too much. And say you come in with an aches and pains in your shoulder, I might be looking at your hips and how they're moving and how that impacts the shoulder, because if the hips don't open long term, that shoulder's not going to get better. So I kind of don't really look at where the painful site is. I look at, your structures and your posture. Yeah.
So you're spending a lot of time examining your patients, your clients first, to get a sense as to how they do what they do, and then that informs what they may actually be needing from you.
Yes, yeah. And I'm really interested to know what lifestyle you have, whether you're a desk sitter, whether you're more standing upright. So I used to be a nurse, so a lot of standing for me, a lot of lower back problems, but that related more to my feet than anything. Whereas if you're sitting at a desk and you've got sort of upper problems like neck sore or tight, I'm more going to be looking at your hips because you're sitting down. So it just depends on what you do lifestyle wise, and I'm really interested to know each individual client and what's going to help them long term.
All of us have, I'm sure, different functional and different issues that we work with in life. I mean, I imagine for you, Jackie, standing around is going to be something that's an important part of working in real estate, because you need to be, there for clients, there for people who are looking at properties. Hey, have you found that, over the years, as you are working with people and showing them homes and giving them an opportunity, that you've found different ways of coping with this? Do you have any tricks?
Look at what shoes you're wearing for long periods of time and keep yourself moving. So if you're standing at an open, don't stay in one position, just keep walking around, talking to people, and try and keep your feet moving, because you can be on, especially on a Saturday, you can have back-to-back opens, and it's can be very tiring. You're jumping in a car, out of the car, setting all the lights up, racing around, standing, then do it all again, close it all down, and off you go to the next one. So
I've often wondered, real estate's one of those roles where you're guaranteed to never get a Saturday off. What drew you to the profession in the first place?
I just love property. So for many years I've been renovating, flipping, developing properties. I live and breathe it. and I love people. So for me, it's a perfect combination. And I love taking people by the hand and taking them through that journey. Not everybody sells the house for good times. There are marriage breakdowns or a death of a partner or someone going into aged care, and can be lots of different reasons they're selling a home. So it's really important to come in alongside of them and take them by the hand and shoulder some of that to help get them through the other side, and to be able to obviously achieve the highest price for people.
You work with your husband, Steve. Do you have a similar approach, do you think, in the way that you tackle things?
Yeah, definitely. We've each got our different strengths. I'm very much a people person. I'm creative. I can walk into a home. I can see what needs there are in that home to get it to market, to get the best dollar for my clients. So probably 50 to 60% of my sales I do renovations on. So if I walk in and see that if an owner, a vendor spent 10 or 20,000 on the house, that we could get another 80,000 for them in their pocket. So I manage the trades and help work through with those. So as far as Steve, he'll come with me to the opens. He heads up the property management division. He's a general manager of the business, so he oversees a lot of things with compliance and things like that. So we each have different roles and different strengths.
I noted before you were saying that you think that the industry itself is slightly askew, not where it should be. What do you mean by that? Where do you think the industry is not really performing for people, and what's that point of difference that you're looking to offer?
I definitely feel I've carved out a niche with the renovation market. There are a lot of people that I believe in the industry are what I call transactional agents. They're trained just to go in, sign up the listing, get it on the market regardless. I go in with a heart for my vendor. I look at if there's some more money on the table for my vendor, I want to get it for them. So it might be a renovation or something else we can do. It might just be styling. It might be helping them move out and stay with family so that they're not stressed during the sale when you're bringing people through. It's whatever I can do to assist my vendor, but for the final outcome of getting the higher price with the least amount of stress. I always say to them, it might be a bit of hard work. So it's either hard work first and easier later, or it's the other way around. If you don't prepare your home well, it sits on the market and just sits there weekend after weekend, and often needs price adjustments and things like that. People are then looking for a bargain. So it's worth doing it well and then get a great outcome for your vendors.
I think that's something that the three of you probably have in common, that you're quite often dealing with people in times of stress. And Adrian, I know that this is something that must be a big part of your practice, getting to know and understand people at times that can be trying for them, whether it's because they're undergoing some criminal situation or whether they're dealing with taxation or even a conveyancing situation. How do you work with your clients in that way?
It's rare that clients come to see us and they're in a good position. They're usually coming to see you because something's gone sideways. So it's inherent in pretty much everything we do with them that there's a lot of stress. So it's to getting to know the client. It is top of our list of things we like to do. So we sort of try and get into their headspace, try and be empathetic as to what they might be dealing with. And different practitioners in the firm will work in different areas. So I don't have the friendliest disposition or demeanour. So I'm probably not the person you want if you've got an argument in the family court about seeing your children. But we've got other practitioners who will do that. But if you want an argument with the Commissioner of Taxation, I'm probably your bloke. So, it's horses for courses. I'm far more friendly than I appear.
I'm sure that's true. You have a varied practice, as you've alluded to. What are the areas of focus that you're seeing coming through the door now? Are there particular cases that you're dealing with time and again?
Family law has just gone through the roof since COVID. I think relationships that were a little bit distressed, and then people went into lockdown. That's really caused, quite sadly, the breakdown of family units. So that's started to go up. Most recently, we've seen a bit more activity from the Commissioner of Taxation, starting to chase money on behalf of the Commonwealth. Insolvency work started to spike a little bit. For me personally, it was my notarial practice that really went through the roof during the whole of COVID, because ordinarily people would fly back to the country of their family's origin to, maybe wind up a deceased estate or something like that, a grandparent or a parent has died. But with the closure of the borders, they couldn't do that. So they come along to see somebody like me as a notary, to verify their identity, witness execution of documents so they can be used overseas.
A lot of people maybe have been in the fortunate position where they've not had a great deal of dealings with lawyers in the past. If I was to come into Bambrick Legal, what would I expect? I mean, is there an initial consultation before who's going to be dealing with me or what the best way to help me would be?
Yep. There'd be an initial phone call just to establish, who we're dealing with and make sure we've got no conflicts. Then we'd probably get you through the door, sit down, half an hour or so to try and get some facts, see if we can add some value. There's no cost to you at that stage. If we form the view that we can assist you, then we'll give you full cost disclosure, let you think about it for a couple of days, and then if you want to take action, you let us know, and away we go.
One thing I learnt about all three of you before we began today is that you are all dog lovers, as am I. And I was wondering, given that we've learnt today that for all three of you, one of the most important aspects of what you do is getting to know the patient, the client, the customer, how do the animals help in that regard? Have you each found in your own way how the dogs are helping do the job?
We've got Vincenzo John Bambrick the first, who's a chocolate brown Labradoodle. He's very well behaved, and that's his disposition or his demeanour is very friendly. And I've spent the first 2 years of his life every Monday night standing on an oval, rain or snow or sunshine, getting him to do what he's supposed to do. So he's quite well behaved. He's very good with distressed clients. If clients even come in with their children, they might be sitting in the reception area playing with Vince. So there's no problems there. He's good with the staff, which is good for the current bloodbath in the recruitment market that we're in now. So I'm hoping he's going to be good for staff retention. And my resting heart rate dropped 10 beats a minute in the first 2 years that I had him. So it's been a win-win for me.
Jackie, what's your experience been?
So we had a lovely little dog, Lola, rehomed to us last year, and we had someone that we knew that was going to an apartment and couldn't take her. So she's a Maltese poodle, really cute, beautifully behaved. And my husband said the only way we could have her is if she could come to work. So the staff immediately researched all the reasons why, the benefits of having a dog at work. So she comes to work every day. She greets all the staff, the clients. She comes into the boardroom, sits on the head chair, and everybody loves her. So she's been really great.
And Sophia, your patients, how do they interact with
I've
dogs?
got little Gary. He's a French bulldog, and he used to lie on some clients' chests when he was a puppy. So he's been like a therapy dog, I feel, for his whole life. So yeah, he comes in, he just snoozes in their chair, and they love him. So it's good to calm them.
I find at the cellar door when I have Cooper, who's a golden retriever, people just assume he's a rug because he moves so little. It's very hard to know he's there at all. I think probably a really good question for all of us to answer is why here? We're all in the same council area. It's a very vibrant area. I think a lot of people who don't live in this neighbourhood think of it as this sort of leafy suburb where you're going to have lots of houses and family homes. But there are so many businesses, so many varied places going on, doing incredible stuff. I mean, here we are at a fantastic distillery that most people don't even know this is here, I think, yet. What attracted you to this neck of the woods?
For me, it was a very, very practical decision. There's somewhere for clients to park. And the last thing you want to do is have a meeting with your client, and you're in the city, and they spend looking at their watch at the 45-minute mark. I've got to go and move the car and come back. Well, that's the last thing you want. You want ease of access. Remove barriers to the market. So it was as simple as that for us.
Absolutely, Sophia.
For me, it's just the accessibility of, like, I have people down south and up north and all over because what I do is quite niche. So, it's really good that it's very central. I used to work down south and that was not great for people that were living up north. So Norwood's like a nice sort of central area for me. Yeah, so I can reach more people.
Absolutely.
And I felt the same. So we built our mortgage business in Nord, and when we sold that, we live in the Adelaide Hills, so for us it's a nice central location. But with our real estate, because we go to all different areas, we find that that's a nice central hub so that our team can go out to all the different areas and it's not too far.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I grew up here, so it was an obvious place for me to come back to, but my wife's Canadian, and when we moved back to Australia, she said, okay, we'll move to Adelaide, that's fine, but we have to live by the beach. And I had to remember, Adelaide has a beach? Okay, right, fine. So we live down by the coast, which is great, but having my business here in Nord, it does feel very central. It's a beautiful part of town. I mean, you really do feel like you're close enough to the city for anything you could need. You're very central, as you were saying, Sophia, but there's still this sense of space, I think, so that you don't feel trapped. And as long as Portrush Road isn't too bad, you can get away reasonably well. I guess the only thing I really wanted to ask all of you is, looking through everything we've been through, we've obviously seen this horrific pandemic. There have been all sorts of strains on business over recent years. Do you have an optimism for what's coming? And I'm going to start with you, Jackie, if I may, because we've seen the real estate market change dramatically over recent years. Even here in Adelaide, you're seeing a market that I didn't grow up with. What do you see in the future? Get out your crystal ball for us. What are you seeing?
Okay, so if we're talking real estate market, so the boom that we've gone through, the biggest one that Adelaide's seen in 22 years. So there's normally a property clock, and you probably have heard the saying, property will double every 7 to 10 years. In Adelaide, that was a bit slower. We have a very stable market, so we don't have the highs and lows that New South Wales and Victoria have, which is great. So this was a really long overdue boom that Adelaide needed. What we're finding now, if we look into the future, Adelaide price, we're still having so many investors looking at Adelaide. It's performing really well. We're not going to have the dips of highs and lows like we had in New South Wales and Victoria. So we're going to be still steady as we go, but we are holding our prices at this stage. So we haven't seen a big pullback, just maybe less offers, but we're still holding firm on pricing.
With you, Sophia, I'm going to skew the question somewhat because structural integration, you've introduced us to it. You've highlighted that it's a rare practice here in Adelaide. You're only one of two. How did you come across this, and what was the drive for this to be your way forward here in Adelaide?
Yeah, so I, in my own body, had lots of niggles that wouldn't go away, and massage was good, but it wasn't helping me long term. So, I wanted to help people long term. I didn't want to just mask the problem, band-aid the problem. So that's when I found structural integration, and me being a nurse, I had a lot of sort of stress in my body. So I definitely wanted to find something that would help my clients long term, and it certainly helps long term. There's a lot of clients who've been sort of needing treatment weekly, and they come and see me, and I see them every 3 months now. So really helping them, I find this has been really great, and it helped me a lot. So I love it. I get it often with my colleague Nat, she's the other structural integrator. So yeah.
And obviously you're finding that growth within your practice, and you're seeing this as being something that's going to be growing with you going forward.
Yeah, I've actually found since COVID it's been a bit of a boom. People are really actually taking their health seriously, which is, when getting sick with COVID and all of this talk about long COVID stuff, really looking after themselves and their posture and their breathing, and this is what I work with them. It's really important that they just have this big drive to look after themselves, even more so than before. So all my long-term clients are really showing up extra and want to know more and how they can help themselves and their kids and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been really good for my business.
And Adrian, for you, it's one thing to go through the years and years to get that legal degree, to have the qualifications you require, but then to take that extra step and to take on your own practice and to make that commitment. Obviously, you're seeing a future that's going forward here. What was the drive to do it yourself, to make it your business?
I sort of really fell into it. And I fell into it, and it's just grown organically to the point where it's sort of almost out of control. I don't really know what drove me to do that. It's a bit of a vague answer.
But you're in it now. There's no going back. But you're seeing a future, obviously.
Yes. I think the future in the South Australian legal market, I think it's migration. And migration law is very similar to tax law, which was previously a large part of my practice was tax dispute work, tax controversy. So it's an administrative function. So you do X, Y, and Z and you get ABC outcome. And migration is very similar. The wave of migration to this country, as I look into my crystal ball, hasn't even started yet. We've got 27 or 28 million people. Nobody lives here. It's a stable political background. We don't have civil war. There's largely racial tolerance with everybody, or if not harmony. It's a clean environment. We've done remarkably well coming out of COVID, I think, as a country as a whole, compared to the rest of the world. I just think that people are going to really start to flock here over the course of the next decade.
Well, I'd like to thank all three of you for the hard work you've put in today. I don't know why we're all so nervous. We've done a stellar job today, haven't we? These are three fantastic businesses right here in your local community that are here to support you. People who you can trust, people who you can rely upon, and people who can be vaguely entertaining on camera too. So you can't say fairer than that. Just be really proud of where you live, be really proud of where you have your business. You're part of a really vibrant community. So to all three of you, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.